Well, good afternoon, everyone. Happy Wednesday to you. It has been a warm one this week and continues to be. I think we're just ramping up more and more to some heat. Thankful that our neighborhood pool has finally opened, albeit with some significant social distancing. In fact, that's kind of where I'll start with a little bit of a story and maybe even a little bit of a confession this week. So Tuesday, so yesterday, is when our neighborhood pool officially opened. In fact, that's why we picked this particular neighborhood, because they were just opening a pool. And just the timing, it worked out to where you have to sign up for, or you have to go at particular time slots and things like that. So 2 o'clock yesterday, I was not in the mood to go to the pool. I had some other stuff to do, but Amanda said, hey, I can take him from 3 on. So just give me an hour, just take him down there, hang out with him for an hour. And said, okay, I'll do that. So I wasn't in a particularly good mood. So we go down to the pool, and they've got all these procedures for checking in and things like that. Hey, I get it. It's a unique time that we live in. I get it, but I just wasn't in a particularly good mood. So we get in the water, and one of the things that I've always enjoyed doing with my kids in the water is playing catch, throwing things around, those kinds of things. So Sophia had this little turtle, this little stuffed kind of turtle thingamajigger, and it couldn't have been more than this big. And it was the only toy we had down there. So Jacob and I started playing catch with it, and we're tossing this back and forth. And so after a few minutes, the security guard comes over, and he says, you can't be throwing stuff back and forth. And I said, why is that? Because you'll be passing germs back and forth. And I'm like, are you serious? I'm like, I'm going to abide by your rules because I respect authority. But that is the stupidest thing I have ever heard. And I literally said that to the security guard. And I began to just stew. And I'm just being honest, okay? And I realized that I'm developing an attitude with all this stuff going on around me. And I think Sunday during church, when Daryl Myers, one of the folks who attend our church, was doing a prayer, and he drew our attention to 2 Chronicles 7:14, that if we humble ourselves, that's when God brings about his blessing. And it's kind of struck me, and just kind of the observation that the last couple of days I've realized that I'm struggling with humility. Like, I'm struggling with this, the world, all the situations that are going on around me is negatively impacting my life. And it's about me. And that was kind of Daryl's point on Sunday. And so I don't know what, maybe you're in the same place. Maybe you are a lot more mature and holy than I am, but I'm struggling right now. It's just, July 4th. There was so little to do. You couldn't go do this, couldn't go do that. And it's like, oh, this is so frustrating. And the last couple of days, and at the end of last week and then into this week in our Bible reading plan, in the book of Esther and in the book of Nehemiah, I came across a couple of verses that just reinforced the need for me and the need for you and the need for us as followers of Jesus to be humble, because it's not about us. And so let me just read a couple verses for you, and then I'm going to let the Holy Spirit work in your heart and just ask you the question, hey, what are you going to do about this? Because I know what I need to do about this. And I'll begin in Nehemiah. In fact, if you're in the Bible reading plan, that was this morning's reading in Nehemiah chapter 1. Nehemiah is not living in Jerusalem, and he gets a report about how things are not going so well in Jerusalem. And in verse 4, chapter 1, verse 4, he says, as soon as I heard these words, so it's a bad report, I sat down and wept and mourned for days, and I continued fasting and praying before the God of heaven. And then the rest of chapter 1 is that prayer, and it's a powerful prayer that he prays. I think we could all learn a lot from that. But The confession for me, what I need to do about this when I hear a passage like this is, and I'll just go ahead and say it, the crap that's going on around me that's making life challenging for me and for all of us around it. I want to complain about it. I want to complain. I want to have a bad attitude about it. That's my sinful nature, is to say, this is affecting me negatively. And what I hear here is Nehemiah. He sees the problems. He sees the difficulties. He sees injustice. He sees work to be done. And he does weep. His reaction is to weep and mourn. But then it says he continued to fast and to pray to the God of heaven. So he recognized who was in charge, and he prayed. And I just confess that that is not my natural reaction. My natural reaction is not, God, will you do something about this? What do you want me to do about it? My reaction is, I want this to happen, and this to happen, and this to happen. And so Nehemiah 1:4, what are you going to do about it? But then a few pages over in the next book, in the book of Esther, we read this last week and finished it the last couple of days. And it's a powerful story, which I want to remind you that whenever we're introducing books like this, Esther and then Nehemiah and Ezra and all these individual books, every Sunday we send out to Gateway, all of our Gateway folks, a link to the BibleProject.com's introductory video for these books. They are phenomenal. They'll give you an overview of that book. And so just go to the BibleProject.com, and a super helpful tool that I encourage you to look at, because the book of Esther is unique. I won't tell you the whole story, but Esther is a young lady who really, I think I would call it in today's world, she was brought into the kingdom through sex trafficking. She's a Jew, and through God's favor and favor from the king, she becomes the queen. And her uncle, Mordecai, says this to her in chapter 4, and it's very powerful. He says, for if you keep silent at this time, so Esther, if you don't speak up because of the injustice that's happening against your fellow Jews, because if you keep silent at this time, relief and deliverance will rise for the Jews from another place, but you and your father's house will perish. And then he has this phrase, and who knows whether you have not come to the kingdom for such a time as this. That's, I think, the theme of Esther, is for such a time as this. My friends, God has allowed us to go through some very challenging times in a year like 2020. But he has also, in his sovereignty, placed us as his followers in the situations we're in for such a time as this. And so don't be like me and having a bad attitude with the security guard at the pool. Don't be complaining. Let's go before the Lord and say, God, what do you want me to do about this? What do you want me to do in my sphere of influence? Because you've placed me here at such a time as this. So my reaction to a security guard probably not making a lot of dollars, having to put up with some complaining people like me, is how do I show respect and love and care? And what am I doing for my neighbors? And what am I doing for the world around me during a very challenging time? So I just ask you the question, what are you doing about it? So when you hear verses like this, Nehemiah 1:4, Esther 4, verse 14, and I just challenge you, what are you going to do about it? Hey, if I can help you in some way, be an encouragement to you, challenge you. If Gateway can help you, we'd love to have you join us for worship on Sundays. We've got our community groups that are meeting throughout the week. And if we can just be a blessing to you in some way, you let us know. So have a great rest of the week. Be safe. Enjoy whatever air conditioning you might experience. And we'll see you soon. Talk to you later. Bye.